morning and welcome to another First Five as we begin this new week following our scratch all that right there, Chase. We're going to start right here. Hey, good morning. Today is another one of our first fives to kind of get your day started in the right ways. This past Sunday, we began a new series called Spring Training. In that series, we're talking about the spiritual disciplines. And these disciplines, or practices, if you will, they are training for us and really just how to know the heart of God. How to learn to hear His voice. See, I've got to be really honest with you. I'm pretty good at finding out there's something I want to do and then learning how to do it and then going to do it and practicing whatever it takes. But these disciplines, these practices are a little more difficult for me. Because in some of them, it's not that I'm going to accomplish anything. And so at the end of the day, it's not like I've got this big checklist of things I have done that I can say, well, look, I have accomplished this. The goal in these practices is not to accomplish anything. It's to draw closer to the heart of God. It's to learn to hear His voice. And so it's why many mornings I begin in Scripture. It's why many mornings I begin in prayer. But I got to be honest with you, sometimes that's really hard. I equate it this way. So I'm in a relationship with my wife. We're married. That's how marriage works. However, if I never go home again, if I never spend time with her, it's not a very good marriage. It's a marriage in which we may live in the same house, but it's not really healthy. See, all relationships require work, and the relationship with God is no different. See, God desperately longs for us to know Him, to rest in His presence. And so often I read the Psalms, and I read the Psalms because they're not trying to be some theological treatise. In fact, sometimes the psalmists kind of get wrong the character of God because they're just kind of pouring out their hearts. And it's their heart that mixed with the heart of God. But really what the psalmists are nailing is this idea that the more we come to know God, the more our heart and God's heart line up. And one of these practices that we're looking at is meditation. And meditation's, I think, honestly, for me, it's the hardest discipline. Because in meditation, it's not like I'm accomplishing anything. I'm not reading a whole chapter. I'm not studying something. I'm not eating. I'm not, like, all the other disciplines for me at some level are measurable. And meditation, in other words, resting in the presence of God, heeding and hearing His voice, just sitting in His presence. That one's hardest for me because you can't define it by time. But I began thinking, what if we just rest in the words of the psalmist? Because they're the ones who often mix their heart and God's heart. And so I love these words from Psalm 19. The psalmist begins like this: "The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of His hands." The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of His hands. Just rest in that image for a second. Then I'm going to jump ahead to verse 7. It says, "The law of the Lord is perfect, reviving the soul. The statutes of the Lord are trustworthy, making wise the simple. The precepts of the Lord are right, giving joy to the heart. The commands of the Lord are radiant, giving light to the eyes. The fear of the Lord is pure, enduring forever." Now, what if we just rested in those presence of those words? What if we rested in God's presence and we began to hear His voice? I'll go so far to say maybe these last line, this is helpful too. Verse 14, the last line of Psalm 19 says this: "May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing in your sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer." What if you and I rested in the presence of God with this thought in our mind, that God is our rock and our redeemer? What if we just rested on that idea that God is our rock and our redeemer? We could even start kind of this resting in His presence with these words that we began with: "The heavens declare the glory of God." See, meditation's tough for me. Maybe it's tough for you. Maybe it's not tough for you. Maybe it's one of the easier ones for you. But here's what I'll tell you. If you'll join with me, and we'll begin each day just resting in the presence of God and allow the truth of what He tells us He is, it'll shape us and our hearts and our lives will be better. And in fact, we'll find we live with a peace that is not swayed by the circumstances of our life, a peace that is inside. And then we can say, may the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing to you, my Lord, my rock and my Redeemer. May you enjoy this day today. May you find that God's presence is real and felt, and may you rest in these practices that we're doing together.